Hello art friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I feel like doing some chit chats while I show you how I paint some ballet dancers from Swan Lake. I have been avoiding painting people and body for the longest time. Only till recent I started to face this challenge. I was inspired by an artist on Instagram. Her name is Sasha Frantseva. She has these really amazing digital value studies. It kind of inspired me to do these monochromatic watercolor gesture studies. And today I just want to add a little bit more color to that. So I thought, why not paint some ballet dancers on stage? Particularly Swan Lake, because it happens in mid of the night by the water, so everything has this indigo tone to it. It's just their face, their hands and ballet slippers that has more orange or pink in them. I just thought that they're a really great reference for a limited color study. So after I get the reference, I want to make sure that they all fit on the page of my sketchbook. So I use Procreate to adjust their position. And then I just slightly sketch out where each pose should be on the page. The paper I'm using today is bockingford hot press cellulose paper. So while I sketch out these poses, I want to tell you a bit about my plans for the new year, the future for this channel. So between the two New Years, the regular New Year and the Chinese New Year, which is at the end of January, I am using this time to reflect on the previous year and also make some plans for 2025. I wasn't quite ready to do that around Christmas, so I didn't come up with any New Year resolution. But one of the viewers told me about the year compass. So I've been taking my time around 10-20 minutes every day to do some journaling, to reflect and really think about what direction I want to take for 2025. Something that surprised me was that for the entire year, I didn't buy any new clothes, bags, or shoes, perfumes, things like that, which was very surprising to me because I never intended to not buy these things. I guess it's because I already had enough and I want to save this money for art supplies. I guess it makes sense because, say, if I spend $10-20 on a lipstick, there's just no way that I can have that much fun with it compared to if I spend that $10-20 on a tube of paint. So that explains where all my money went. And for this year's art supply budget, it kind of depends on how much money I can get from making videos on YouTube. I am expecting my first payment from YouTube. It's not like a lot of money, but it's still pretty crazy to think about since I'm still such a tiny channel. So I want to use this money to improve the video quality. I'm thinking to get a gimbal or something so that I can film while drawing outside. I realized that I can draw outside or film outside, but I'm not able to do both at the same time. So I want to find a better setup for that. I'm also planning to get a secondhand scanner so that I can post my art in better quality. When it comes to art supplies, I want to support more small businesses and other artists. There are also a few art books that I would like to add to my collection. And then there is a summer trip and family visits. So it's going to be a lot. After I'm done sketching, I'm just using a piece of scrap paper to test out a few color choices. I want the background to have a very dark indigo color, and I also want some variation with other dark blues. I ended up didn't use that much of that light gray color. I think usually when I'm painting and really looking at the reference, I will start to notice colors that I didn't see before. So I usually don't completely limit myself to the color choices. In this case, I also added perylene green in the painting process later on. For the face and fingers of the dancers, I used the color John Brilliant Dark, which is very similar to Naples Yellow, and I used it to mix with different orange and pinks, especially with Potter's Pink. It's a color that I usually don't use, but in this occasion, I feel like a muted pink is very appropriate. I also used ultramarine pink from Amgram a lot. It's kind of like a neighbor color for Potter's Pink. Since I know the air is very dry right now, I decided to mix a puddle of paint before I wet the paper. But I feel like I didn't put down enough water on the paper, and I also mixed way too little paint. So when I started to put down the colors, I realized the value was not dark enough. So I thought I would just put down another layer later on. But I did panic a little bit because I feel like it's gonna get really streaky. And also I wasn't able to get that crisp, sharp edges that I wanted to have. So after the first post, I decided to switch to another brush. About a month ago, I made my first order from Rosemary & Co brushes. I don't know why I waited so long to try their brushes. I thought they just made oil painting brushes. I tried their evergreen angular brush. I bought it because it was also included in their gouache set, and I really enjoyed using that angular tip. I can almost sketch with it, and it was also very useful for carving out shapes. But I think you can tell this brush is not meant for holding a lot of water. I had to keep going back to the palette and bring more pigment and water. So that stressed me out a little bit, especially when I'm trying to focus on getting the shapes right. But in the end, it was okay. It wasn't terrible. I do want to try some of their brushes that are meant for watercolor though. They have 3 or 4 different types of synthetic brushes that are great for watercolor. And I specifically want to try some angular ones. At this stage, I already know I want to paint a similar reference again, but on a piece of cold pressed cotton paper, because I want the background to be very dark from the start. Because I really like that stage light effect. It makes the dancers look like they're glowing almost. Obviously, it wasn't happening here because the background didn't get as dark as I wanted to on the first pass. When I went back in later to darken certain parts, it kind of lost that freshness. And maybe this paper is more suitable for the kind of drawing that I can leave most of the background blank and white. It didn't handle the big dark washes very well, and I can tell that it is starting to have some warping issue. Talking about watercolor paper, this year I want to try less art supplies. I know I can't believe I'm saying that, but just to make things simpler for myself. I just feel like I already tried all the paper that I can afford and can be easily bought from Sweden. So there's just really no point for me to try a lot of new things right now. Somehow I feel like I'm a little bit tired of trying new things randomly. That is also why I kind of want to take a break from reviewing art supplies that are sent to me. Because it takes energy and time to get to know a new product. And I much rather spend that time and energy on some product that I actually choose for myself. It's kind of like I have to have a need or a specific reason that I want a certain new item. So that's something maybe you will see less in my channel in the future. Even though I really love watching swatching videos, I still love to watch how other artists use their art supplies. I just haven't felt excited to make that kind of videos recently. So I'll probably make more videos like me doing something challenging with the art supplies that I already have. And I hope those videos are still going to be exciting for you to watch. Now I'm going to leave you with some music, and I'll be back when I start painting on cold press paper. When I was editing this footage, I was reminded how much I liked watching the pigment flow in the water, so I decided not to speed up this process. This was the effect that I really wanted to achieve. I wanted some soft edges and the blooming, the cauliflowers. Because when the background is very abstract, I can almost imagine maybe that's some other dancer's tutu in a way, or someone else in the background. It just has that very iconic Swan Lake look. So I'm very glad that I repainted this on cotton paper. During this painting process, I kind of felt very uncreative because some very talented people in the past, they came up with the story of Swan Lake, the music, the costumes, the stage light and everything. And of course, all these dancers trained for years for this craft. And all I'm doing is just copying all that on a piece of paper. But I'm also really glad that I can be sure that those efforts are made by human instead of AI. I noticed that there's so much AI-generated reference photos on Pinterest these days. So I really fear that this certainty and trust is not going to be here for long. I just really wish that there is a way to choose not to see them. It's just so unnecessary because people who do use AI in their creative process, they can easily generate their own reference photo instead of looking for those on places like Pinterest. I'm not judging anybody who use AI reference. I just wish the whole thing can be a bit more organized for those of us who don't want to see them all the time. So because of this, next year I think I will focus on taking my own reference photos. Depends on what I want to paint. Of course, most of the reference I use are still going to be from the internet. I have heard some artists say that practice drawing from sketching people's faces on the news or YouTube videos. That's something I can start doing as well. Recently, I've been using these live drawing videos to practice figure drawing. But I'm just not sure if I will always be able to share my reference photo in the future, because if I'm taking a photo of my friends and family or myself, I can't guarantee that they give permission to share their images online, which is a shame, because when I look at other artists' work, I really like to compare their reference photo and their finished work. That's where you can see how they problem solve, and I believe that you guys want to see that too. So that's something I need to be both mindful and creative about. I have heard that a lot of artists, especially watercolor artists, that they don't paint with black. But I use black quite often, specifically lamp black. I like that it's darker and cooler than ivory black. Here I used lamp black to mix with indigo to paint her hair. From the reference, I think the hair looked a bit darker and also less saturated than the background. So I thought lamp black would be a convenient way to paint that. And as for her shoes, her ballet slippers, I don't know if I've seen a video from Lilstarnerd. She did a 100 feet challenge like 2 years ago. I kind of want to do something similar. I always had issue connecting the feet to the body or connecting it to the ground, depends on how the person is standing, because there's some perspective in them and also the anatomy has to look right. I always had so much trouble with that. Sometimes I have the problem of making the left foot look like it's the right foot. I have a lot of structure issue with them. I feel like sometimes my poses look weird or wrong because of the feet. Sometimes I make people look like they're floating or they broke one of their ankle or something. And even for people that are sitting down with their feet resting on the ground, I don't think I know how to make that weight distribution look right. Maybe hands and feet, there's something that it's just not enough to just copy them from reality. Maybe there need to be some stylistic choices for them to look right. So maybe that's something I will look into this year. Thank you so much for staying till the end with me. If you follow my community posts, you might know that I had to go through a small medical procedure a few weeks ago. I'm really grateful for all the nice wishes and I'm fully recovered now. So I hope you're having a great day and I will see you in the next one. I think it's gonna be gouache, I think. Okay, goodbye.